What's up, everybody? More portal movement. Mississippi State's got a quarterback. Ole Miss and LSU are racking up, and Alabama gets a big-time player to stay. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by the College Football Playoff. The College Football Playoff is here, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. College Football Playoff, presented by Allstate, begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st, on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. All right, let's dive into it because we got plenty to discuss. And first, we got to start off with Mississippi State has their quarterback. Yes, it's been a little bit of a crazy offseason. Remember, they brought in Blake Shapen last year from Baylor. He got hurt 2 games into the season. They ended up having to turn to their true freshman, Michael Van Buren, who played the rest of the way, put up some nice numbers. Well, this offseason in the portal, they were going after Jackson Arnold. They did not get him. Jackson Arnold, the Oklahoma quarterback, landed at Auburn. And Michael Van Buren, who was their freshman quarterback, he transferred to LSU. So they had to find a quarterback, Jeff Lebby and company, and they found it from Florida State. Quarterback Luke Kromenhoek joins the Bulldogs after 1 year at Florida State. Former 4-star prospect, was the number 59 overall recruit, the number 5 quarterback in the class of 2024. And was the number 9 player from the state of Georgia just a year ago. So he was Florida State's 3rd-string quarterback this year. Did see some playing time as they went 2-10 over there in Tallahassee, but completed 50% of his passes for 500 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, averaged 6 yards per attempt through the air. And look, interesting spot because I don't know if they're asking him to come in and be the starter, but can compete alongside Blake Shapen. And look, if he's got the talent, if he could beat out Blake Shapen, I'm sure, Mississippi State will roll with that. But maybe in a more ideal world, Blake Shapen is the guy in 2025. And, Kromenhoek kind of just sits and learns and develops and gets ready for the year after. But either way, it's a big-time talent for Jeff Lebby to add to the room after missing out on, of course, Jackson Arnold and then losing Michael Van Buren. So, again, Luke Kromenhoek going to Mississippi State. Big-time pickup there for Jeff Lebby and the folks in Starkville. All right, elsewhere in the portal, Ole Miss continues to do work. Kewan Lacey committed to Ole Miss on Monday evening. He was the former Mizzou running back who entered the portal earlier this month, spent his freshman season with the Tigers. Was a 4-star recruit in 2024. Was a highly touted high school recruit. Came to Mizzou as a top 200 overall player, the number 15 running back in the country, and had offers from schools like Miami and Texas A&M and Florida. But Lacey entered his freshman season, did not play a huge role in Missouri's offense. Obviously, they had other running backs, had just 23 carries for 104 yards. But he joins an Ole Miss transfer class that has been kind of jockeying with LSU for the number 1 spot on the 24/7 composite rankings. But some big-time additions for Ole Miss, and of course, they added to it again last night with another pickup. Auburn transfer safety Antonio Kite has signed with Ole Miss. He spent last season at Auburn, transferred in from Alabama the year prior. So it's looking like he's taking the full SEC tour here, but staying in what was previously the SEC West. But played 4 games for Auburn this year, had 3 tackles in the game against Cal, but another big-time addition for a group that includes like I said, Antonio Kite, all the Arkansas guys, Jalen Braxton, Luke Hass, Patrick Kudus. But perhaps the biggest one Ole Miss picked up yesterday. How about transfer senior wide receiver Dazon Stribling coming over from Oklahoma State? 882 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns this past season. He was the number 16 wide receiver in the portal class. Will have 1 year of eligibility remaining. He transferred to Oklahoma State from Washington State the year prior. But, man, a big-time playmaker at wide receiver. And obviously, Ole Miss is going to lose guys like Trey Harris and Jordan Watkins and Juice Wells. And Stribling can come in and be a big part of that Ole Miss passing game. So, big-time pickup there for Ole Miss. And, again, as of this recording, they're sitting at the number one spot in the 24/7 composite, but LSU nipping at their heels right behind them. We'll get to LSU in a second, but first, Ole Miss transfer safety Key Lawrence. He's committed to UCLA. Lawrence has played at Tennessee, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and now he is headed off to UCLA. Over at Alabama, Jaylen Mbakwe is staying put after all. Mbakwe grabbed the nation's attention on Monday night when he announced that he was entering the transfer portal. He later yesterday posted that he is staying put at Alabama. Less than 24 hours later, announced he will remain in Tuscaloosa, return to the Alabama football team. He announced it by posting a still photo of that scene from Wolf of Wall Street on Instagram saying, "I'm staying." But as a true freshman, played 11 games for the Tide, had 15 tackles, 12 solo, and a tackle for a loss. In coverage, he had 2 pass breakups and an interception. Also had 2 punt returns for 46 yards. He was a dynamic, big-time prized signee in the 2024 class. He's a 5-star, the number 2 corner in the nation, the number 3 player from the state of Alabama, the number 12 recruit overall nationally in that class. Had offers from just about everybody, but he is staying put. And look, if it took money, if it took them getting him a deal to stay, it's the price of playing poker these days. It's what Alabama had to do. And Kalen DeBoer, a lot of guys jumping into the transfer portal couldn't afford to lose a big-time player like Jaylen Mbakwe. So congrats to him, staying put, and he will be a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Other big news for Bama last night, they picked up Florida transfer D lineman Kelby Collins, 6'5", 270-pound D lineman, 29 tackles, 3 sacks in his time at Florida, 15 quarterback hurries as well. He will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. A little bit of a homecoming for him out of Gardendale High School in the state of Alabama. And again, went over to Florida, and now he will come back to the state of Alabama. Was the number 5 defensive lineman, number 6 player in the state of Alabama in that class of 2023. So head to Tuscaloosa with 2 years of eligibility remaining. A few other Bama notes here. Got a lot of Bama notes. Dylan Lonergan, former quarterback, announced last night. We know he was in the portal. He's heading to Boston College. So he will go play for his former offensive coordinator and Bill O'Brien. Lonergan, 6'2", 215 pounds, will have 3 years of eligibility remaining. Was rated a 4-star recruit in the class of 2023. Other Bama guys, former Bama D lineman Jaheim Otis announced he is headed to Colorado. So he will go play for Coach Prime up there in the Buffaloes of Colorado. Alabama D lineman Damon Payne entered the portal yesterday. Former 5-star recruit from the class of 2021. Was a number 24 overall player in the class of 2021. Also, former Bama wide receiver Kobe Prentice. He announced on Tuesday he is heading to Baylor. Took to social media to announce it. So he is heading to the Big 12 to go play for the Baylor Bears. All right, get back to other schools. LSU, we mentioned they are right there with Ole Miss as the number 1 and number 2 portal classes currently. They picked up another big one last night. Oklahoma wide receiver Nick Anderson announced that he is heading to LSU. He exploded on the scene 2 years ago as a true freshman at Oklahoma in 2023, or rather a redshirt freshman, I believe he was. Set an Oklahoma freshman record, caught 38 catches for 798 yards and double-digit touchdowns. He was fantastic. And so he missed majority of this season with an injury, but now he'll head to LSU where he'll get to connect with Garrett Nussmeier. And a receiving corps is going to look a little bit different. Sounds like they're going to keep Aaron Anderson in that group. Kyron Lacey will head off to the draft. And C.J. Daniels entered the portal. LSU also added another receiver yesterday morning in Destin Hill from Florida State. Took a non-traditional path to college football. He initially committed to Florida State as a member of the 2021 recruiting class, but did not enroll until 2023. Spent 2 seasons with the Noles before entering the portal. He's a New Orleans native, so makes sense to head back to the state of Louisiana. But Destin Hill and Nick Anderson, big-time receivers heading to LSU. And what's interesting is you look at what Brian Kelly has done so far. They got the number 2 corner in Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech. They got the number 4 wide receiver, Nick Anderson, the number 6 edge from Florida and Jack Pyburn, the number 8 wide receiver in Barrion Brown. Forgot about him coming over from Kentucky. Number 8 tight end in Bauer Sharp coming over from Oklahoma. So Brian Kelly and LSU, they are a player in this transfer portal this time around. All right, when we return here on Locked On SEC, we got more portal news to get to at some other SEC schools. We will touch on that here in just a second. More Locked On SEC coming up right after this. Today's episode presented to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can tackle all the NFL and college action with FanDuel. They are America's #1 sports book, and right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app going to give you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and college all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. And look at some of the lines. If you like Florida in their bowl game against Tulane, they're minus 13.5 if you like the Gators. How about Clemson at Texas? The Longhorns, 11.5-point home favorites. Tennessee catching 7.5 on the road at Ohio State. If you like Tennessee to pull off the upset, you can get that line plus 7.5 or just take them straight money line. Pretty good odds there over at FanDuel.com. Again, you can get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also presented to you by our friends at Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you got to do is pick more or less than on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long over at Prize Picks. They are America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, and right now they're making your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. They now offer MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. And now, because this holiday season, Prize Picks, they're giving you away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Download the app today, Prize Picks, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you place your first $5 lineup. You can download the app today, use code LOCKEDONCollege, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys so much for making us your first listen every day. We're going to dive back into the transfer portal news as we've been catching you up to date on everything going on around the conference. And now we head out to College Station. It's Texas A&M making a big pickup on Tuesday. Mississippi State transfer wide receiver Mario Craver committing to A&M. Mississippi State, it did go winless in SEC play, but Craver was a bright spot. He put together a nice freshman season in Starkville. The former 4-star finished the year with 17 receptions for 368 yards and 3 touchdowns. And did not take him long to figure things out, make an impression, and scored his first career touchdown in their opener against Eastern Kentucky on a 54-yard grab from Blake Shapin. And one of his best performances of the season actually came against Texas A&M in October, where he had 5 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. A week prior to that, Alabama native, he had 2 catches for 75 yards against Georgia. So Craver currently rated the number 19 overall player in the portal, number 9 receiver in the transfer portal. And Texas A&M, as of this recording, sitting with the number 5 portal class. So we know Elko used that last year. They were big time, factors in the transfer portal, and looks like they're doing so once again. They've got Jacob Zeno, the quarterback from UAB. They got Micah Hudson earlier this week, the big-time wide receiver from Texas Tech. They got Micah Riley, the tight end for Auburn, and Julian Humphrey, the corner from Georgia. So 2 big receivers there for Marcel Reed or Jacob Zeno to throw the football to. Mario Craver and Micah Hudson, big-time pickups there for the Aggies of Texas A&M. All right, over at Georgia, they are, a guy on his way out the door. Wide receiver Rara Thomas officially entering his name into the portal this week. Of course, in August, he was kicked off the football team after a July arrest on 2 counts of misdemeanor battery and 1 count of felony cruelty to children. He transferred from Mississippi State to Georgia back ahead of the 2023 season and was a nice contributor, but He's back into the portal here. Was expected to be a big part of Georgia's offense this year, but never panned out because of that arrest. And Kirby Smart had to make the tough decision. So, yeah, he's technically in the portal leaving Georgia, but as far as Georgia was concerned, he was off our team a while ago. All right, over at Auburn, some news that true freshman edge Amaris Williams is staying at Auburn. He had entered the transfer portal earlier this week, and one of Auburn's top recruits in the class of 2024 announced he is going to stay at Auburn. So good news there for the Auburn Tigers. They're hoping he can be a big-time contributor moving forward for them. Also, Auburn quarterback Walker White officially entered the portal yesterday. It had been reported last week that he was going to enter the portal, but officially got in there yesterday. Over at Arkansas, running back Rashad Dubinion entering the transfer portal. He rushed for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns this season. It's a little surprising, right? Because they just lost Braylon Russell, entered the portal earlier this week, the freshman running back who was rumored to be going into the portal, then announced he was not going to be in the portal, and then went back into the portal. So he's moving on, and Rashad Dubinion moving on. Remember, they lost A.J. Green last offseason. It's been a rotating door. Rocket Sanders left last offseason, head to South Carolina, where he was very productive. So it'll be a new-looking backfield there for Arkansas Razorbacks. One other note, they did get an addition yesterday. Former Texas A&M tight end Jaden Platt announced he is heading to Arkansas to continue his college career. 6'5", 260 pounds. Got to College Station in 2023. Spent 2 seasons there, played 9 games, just 2 catches for 52 yards. But Jaden Platt, now an Arkansas Razorback. Looks like, according to the numbers, Arkansas's lost somewhere around 26, 27 guys to the portal already, but have only added 5 players as transfers so far. So they have some major work to do. Over at Florida, they're losing one of their starting linebackers to the portal. TJ Searcy announcing he is entering transfer portal. Edge rusher played in all 12 games for Florida this fall, had 34 tackles, made 5 starts, 6'5", 262 pounds, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles this year. So we'll see where he ends up. And then lastly, over at Vanderbilt, their offensive lineman Gunnar Hansen had entered the transfer portal, was a stalwart as one of their tackles the last couple of years. He officially committed to Florida State yesterday. So the big 6'5", 325-pound O-lineman started 37 games in 3 years for the Commodores, was named SEC O-lineman of the week and Outland National Player of the Week earlier this year. He'll have 1 season of eligibility remaining, and he will see Alabama in the opener as Florida State will host the Tide in their season opener. All right, there you have it. As the latest going on in the transfer portal, oh my God, I mean, it's like 20 minutes worth of names and just per day. Like, this is how crazy all this stuff is moving and happening so quickly. But hey, we're keeping you up to date on all of it. It's changing by the day. And by the time you're listening to this, there's probably another big name or two that we, because of where we're recording you, we haven't been able to include in this. But hey, when we return, we got some tidbits we got to get into, including guys who will be, who are playing in bowl games, who's opting out. Got a couple of updates there. We'll get you caught up with that coming up here in just a second. Well, first, I want to remind you guys, this episode is presented to you by our friends over at the College Football Playoff. And yes, the College Football Playoff is officially upon us. It is here, and College Football Playoff back and better than ever. The newly expanded 12-team format, guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bring you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the College Football Playoff. It is happening starting December 21st, starting with the College Football Playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T. That will start at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. Again, that's happening Saturday morning, and that will lead you into the first big matchup. It will be SMU versus Penn State. That's right. Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions. 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern is kickoff for that one. Going to be cold up there in State College. I've seen the forecast. And then in the afternoon, we will get the Clemson Tigers looking to upset the Texas Longhorns of the SEC, and a showdown at 3 Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Of course, you can watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. I'm excited. Can't believe it's already here. And going to be a fun day, Saturday, sitting on the couch and watching all of the action. The college football playoff is officially back. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC. Before we call the show, a few tidbits we got to get into here. And we'll start with Mike Elko over at Texas A&M. They're getting ready for their Las Vegas Bowl against the USC Trojans. Kind of funny. LSU opened the season in Las Vegas against USC, and now Texas A&M will finish their season, the bowl game against USC. But Mike Elko says he won't have his total roster on December 27th. He confirmed on Tuesday that senior defensive lineman Shamar Turner and junior defensive lineman Shamar Stewart, as well as defensive end Nick Scorton, have all opted out of the bowl game. Stewart and Scorton recently declared for the NFL draft, so their opt-outs for the bowl game aren't surprising. But with Shamar Turner being a senior and the NFL draft ahead, some thought maybe he would play in the bowl game to maybe help some stock a little bit, but all those guys are out. So A&M going to be hurting a little bit on the D-line. Going to have to get some young guys involved against USC in Vegas. But Aggies, nice season, went 8-4. But, of course, that extra bowl win can kind of flip things, right? 9-4 sounds much better than 8-5. But Mike Elko talked about a lot of these guys that they brought in that helped kind of change the culture. And he said, you look at some of our seniors that have chosen to play in this bowl game. It's a chance for them to go out with a big win against a really good USC team. So Aggies are going to kick off that game on December 27th at 9:30 Central on ESPN. So that's going to be a late one over there. Over at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin and company talking about preparing for their bowl game. And they've had a few guys announce that they're going to play in the bowl game. Lane Kiffin talking with the media yesterday saying, how does his Gator Bowl roster look? He said, I think everybody but Chris Pooh Paul are going to play. So Chris Paul likely not going to play. He declared for the NFL draft. But star defensive tackle J.J. Pegues put off some messages on social media saying he wants to finish strong. He said, we built something special here. We just want to finish the right way. Pegues saying on the Rebels in the Gator Bowl, he said, we all plan on playing in the bowl game. So, look, it's the Gator Bowl. It's not like the biggest bowl game, but pretty interesting that he tweeted that. And then I believe I saw even Princely Oman Mielen tweeted out. He is, said unfinished business or whatever, like we're going to play in the bowl game. So it's encouraging, man, this day and age with a lot of guys all opting out of, the bowl game. We got some guys that are going to be playing for Ole Miss, a lot of their regulars. So that will be fun to see. All right. Over at Tennessee, they're getting ready for their big game against Ohio State. And Jim Knowles and his Buckeye defense, he was talking to the media yesterday about preparing for this Josh Heupel, high-powered, up-tempo offense of the Tennessee Volunteers. And Knowles said he engineered a scheme to stop up-tempo offenses at the request of Duke head coach David Cutcliffe years ago. He said, it doesn't make it harder. It makes it different in facing a style that we haven't really faced a lot. But he said, I think we're ahead of the game that way. Our defense is built for tempo. David Cutcliffe made me do that back in the day at Duke. So hats off to him because this is what everybody was doing, right? 10 years ago, 12 years ago. That's how we set it up. Our calls, everything. It's been that way in the system since back then at Duke, built for tempo. He also talked about his secondary, having faith in them against some of these big wide receivers for Tennessee, rather. He said Tennessee will challenge us in certain ways, but those guys are on an island all the time. Forget who you're playing. It's one-on-one many times out there. Anybody can just step back and throw the ball up in the air. You got to compete, and you got to have confidence in your corners. So, look, I don't know with the cold weather forecast up there in Columbus, if they're going to have a ton of passes being thrown by Tennessee. I got a feeling they'd like to lean on that dominant defense and a dominant run game of Dylan Sampson. But that was Jim Knowles of Ohio State sharing his thoughts on the Tennessee offense. Over in South Carolina, Shane Beamer had one of the best seasons at South Carolina in recent years. On Tuesday, it was announced he was named a finalist for the 2024 Dodd Coach of the Year trophy. The other finalists include Dan Lanning of Oregon, Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, and Jeff Monken at Army. I think all of them very deserving, but I will tell you guys, a couple weeks ago, somebody asked me, who's your Coach of the Year? I said Shane Beamer. For SEC Coach of the Year, rather. But National Coach of the Year, I think you could certainly make a case as well. Big-time year, 9 wins after going 20-18 in his first 3 seasons. Missed a bowl game last year. He was named the AP's SEC Coach of the Year. I like Shane Beamer a lot, and I think he is deserving of the honor. So we'll see who the Dodd folks name their Coach of the Year. One more tidbit I wanted to pass along. I saw this note come out yesterday. Dan Mullen, of course, former Florida head coach, he has taken the job at UNLV, that former Mizzou head coach and Arkansas DC Barry Odom had. But Dan Mullen taking that UNLV job, and he's looking for a defensive coordinator, and apparently has tabbed Zach Arnett, former Mississippi State head coach, as his new DC. Now, there was a report earlier yesterday that Arnett was flirting with taking the App State defensive coordinator position, but now it sounds like may have a little bit of a change of heart and may take the UNLV defensive coordinator job under Dan Mullen. So we'll keep an eye on that one, see if anything changes there. But yeah, kind of funny. The two Mississippi State, former Mississippi State head coaches are now the head coach and DC at UNLV. I have times changed and things just changed so quickly here in the world of college football. I mean, if you missed the news yesterday, Michael Vick is going to be the head coach at Norfolk State. Like, it's wild, man. Bill Belichick's the head coach in North Carolina. I mean, that's just tells you how wild times are. All right. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers for coming out and checking us out each and every day. Let me just verify here, make sure I didn't miss anything in our notes with all the transfer news. USC transfer left tackle Mason Murphy signed with Auburn. Missed that one yesterday. So Auburn got an offensive lineman there. So look, man, this thing's changing by the minute. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. Thank you for making us your first listen. Now you can make your second listen. Just mention Auburn there. Go check out Zach Blackerby. He does Locked On Auburn. He'll tell you why Peyton Thorne is going to win the Heisman at Auburn next year. I'm Chris Gordy. Come on back and check us out tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC. We'll talk to you guys then.